Hi. So we are home again during this quarantine, and T-Rex and I really miss going to the beach. So we thought today we would talk all about water and stuff we can do with water here at home. So we're actually going to look at stuff that kind of looks magical. We're going to do some magic tricks, and then we're going to explain the science behind them. So the first thing we're going to do, I need you to grab a plate and grab a whiteboard marker if you've got one. Needs to be a whiteboard marker or this won't work. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to make a floating man here on my plate. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a stick figure. Now I want to make sure my stick figure, all the lines are connected, and it's pretty dark, but I'm not going to go over it too much. That's my stick guy, and I'm going to see if I can make him float. Now again, you have to make sure that you used a whiteboard marker, and I'm going to just pour water slowly and gradually in here, and if you look, the water, it looks like it's prying up underneath the marker and loosening it up to where my stick figure is starting to float. I'm going to just gently let it keep going through my stick figure, and sometimes parts of my stick figure come apart. So we'll see if we can keep them all together this time. Oh, it might be working. Now, the way that we got this to work, oh, there he is. Now I'm going to add a little bit more water to cover the whole plate, and my stick figure is going to float around my plate. So how we did this is the ink in the whiteboard marker is an insoluble ink, which means it doesn't dissolve in water. So when I draw something on the plate and add water, the ink is actually less dense than the water. And I add water and I have this buoyancy effect that raises the ink above the water. The ink kind of wants to float on top of the water. And so if I add water nice and slow, it raises my ink up, and I've got a floating guy or a dancing guy, however you want to do it. Go ahead and try the dancing guy at home. Maybe even try some different designs, see what you can come up with. All right, now we're going to try, I'm going to see if I can tip this jar upside down with water and not have the water fall out. It usually works, so we'll try it and see how it goes. So you might want to try this over the sink or outside at home because it can be a little bit messy. But I'm basically going to completely fill that jar with water. And then I'm going to take a piece of construction paper, cardstock, and I'm going to flip it over, and let's see if it works. And my water is staying in my jar. Now let's see if I can take my paper off and it still stays in the jar. So how can I do that? What's going on with that? Well, the water molecules are hooking together. It's kind of an adhesion and cohesion kind of thing. I'll show you what we can do. If I tip the jar at all, I'll actually lose it. So what I did here is I actually put a screen on the top of my jar. What I did is I had an extra window laying around, so I took the top of a canning jar, I traced it and cut out of the screen the same size that I needed to fit in my canning jar lid. Then I put that on the jar, and what that did is it helped the water molecules kind of hook together. We call that cohesion. Then when they hooked together and I used the paper like that, I had adhesion. Together, the two of those kept my water in the jar even when I flipped it right side up or upside down. All right, the next thing we're going to look at here is I've got a bowl full of water. Looks like a regular bowl full of water, right? But actually, I've got water marbles in here. All right, these are Orbeez. I got these from Target, and they actually have these at a lot of different places, but right now that's the only place that was open that I could get them. They're actually a kind of a plastic polymer that is a long chain of molecules that holds together like this They actually start off as tiny little plastic balls, and they can absorb 400 times their weight in water. They were originally made to use for plants and things. Well, the cool thing about this is when I fill this bowl up with water and the balls themselves have the same index of refraction. So when the light passes through, you can't tell the difference between the two. Let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. Here is a bowl just of the water beads. I didn't add any extra water. You can't see through that. I've got an image below my bowl, and you can't really see what the image is about. But if I add water, now you can't even see the beads, and you can see my image. Yes, I love naps. Those are my water beads. Try those out. They're super fun. All right, over here we've got one more thing we're going to try, and we're going to keep talking about refraction. Now, reflection, like in a mirror, is when light hits a substance and gets bounced off it. Refraction is when light hits a medium or a substance and it goes through it and it bends. So let's finish up with some things that I think you guys should have at home. All we're going to use for this is jars and water, and maybe some great artwork that you've got laying around. So first what we're going to do is we're going to show you just an arrow. You should be able to see I've got a blue arrow that I've drawn pointing to the left. All right. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to stick my empty jar in front of it. You should still see a blue arrow to the left. But now I'm going to pour in water and see if anything changes to my arrow once I pour in the water. See, what happens is the light hits my jar, goes through the jar, goes through the water, and goes through the other side of the jar, creating like a cylindrical convex lens, which are great big science words for saying it inverted our image. It made our image go backwards. Here's another way we can kind of see the same idea. I've got two arrows, a green arrow up and a pink arrow down. This time I tried a different size and shape jar, and when you look, half of the image covered by water, you can see the bottom of the image that you see through the water is inverted or backwards, showing the left arrow pointing up and down, and it's half green and half pink. That's probably one of my favorites. Let's try one more, all right? Over here, I've got an image of two fish. They're both happy, swimming to the left, and I'm gonna put this jar right in front of them. It's empty. You still see both fish swimming to the left. I'm gonna fill it up about halfway full so that the bottom fish you're looking through the water to see. And now it looks like the bottom fish is swimming to the right. What happens, the light went through the jar, went through the water, and went through the back side of the jar, making it inverted or looking like it's going the opposite direction. Now you can have fun with this by moving your jar around, trying different shapes and sizes, trying different drawings and see what happens. Hopefully you guys will have a great time at home playing around with refraction of water. Have a great week.